Welcome, everyone. I'd like to say good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on your location in the world. I'm Eve Favros, one of the online marketing managers with Brad Sugar's Profit Masters. We have people attending from all over the world for today's webinar entitled Social Media. Brad will be teaching you how to bring people to your social media messages and turn them into customers and eventually raving fans of your business. So please have a pen and paper ready to take notes. I'd like to go over just a few housekeeping rules regarding usage of the GoToWebinar control panel that you should see in the upper right corner of your screen. Use the red arrow to hide or expand your control panel. And throughout this webinar, please feel free to type in any questions you have into our chat window located at the bottom of the control panel. Brad's team is online and will plan to answer your questions. Brad will also answer some questions towards the end of this webinar so that everyone can benefit from the questions being asked. Due to the large audience in this webinar, we will not be answering any audible questions during the presentation portion. Now, without further delay, I'd like to pass you on to our host and the world's #1 business coach, Brad Sugars.
Thanks, Eve. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Really great to be here. Really great to be on the webinar. And, you know, social media. So let's get social. Let's have some fun with this thing. You know, when you sit down and look at the advent of the changes in media over the last 20 years from, you know, yellow pages and TV being the #1 and biggest options to now having so many options, it's no wonder people get confused by this stuff, let alone just thinking about the social media landscape, let alone thinking just about the blog landscape or the video. You know, it's so many different options for people to choose from that it's pretty easy to get confused by this stuff, especially as a business person who's not always trying to keep in touch with it. So let's make sure that we are actually on top of it all, and let's get a few ideas as to where that goes and how we can actually make that happen. You know, when you sit down and start thinking about it, the whole aim of any media or any marketing is to make more sales. The whole aim is to increase revenue flow. And so a lot of the times when we sit down and we start going through what is social media and how should it work, too many of us are doing the wrong things and heading down the wrong path where we're not actually making money out of this stuff. And that's really what I want to focus in on today, as to how do we actually use this as part of the mix of marketing that is in our tool bag or in our availability to go and build business. So, you know, I know when most people come to a webinar like this, and depending upon what your reason is, obviously you'll get different things out of it. But the first thing I want to say is this, is that media or social media is part of any marketing plan. So if you develop a full marketing plan, and of which social media is one segment of that, you'll perform extraordinarily well. You know, most people coming on this call is not just because of social media, it's because they want to grow their business. It's because they want to get better bottom line to their business. And social media is one aspect of that, and that's what we're going to look at today. So as a business person looking to grow your business, social media is one aspect of it, but there's so many other things. I know for me, the main reason that I'm doing these webinars is I love teaching people business. I've been over the 20 years now of doing this, writing books and educating through seminars. I don't think there's anything more fun than being able to teach people and see the results that they're getting when they actually put this stuff into place. So much so that with Action Coach, we literally guarantee to improve the bottom line of companies. I mean, it's a fairly unique thing for a company to actually be able to say. But why webinars? Well, you know, I worked out in 2009 there's got to be a better way. I was away far too much, traveling way too much, and I really worked it out that people don't pay you for seminars for the fact that you go to the seminar. I'd almost do them for free. What people pay you for is the fact that you sit in hotels and on aeroplanes and all of that sort of stuff all the time. Webinars allows me to have a great lifestyle, allows you wherever. Well, if I look at the list here, we've got 14 different countries covered off on today's list of hundreds of you around the world. So it's kind of exciting to be able to do that and learning through this modality. And I'm sure that if you've got your pen and paper, by the way, feel free to tweet and Facebook that you're on this webinar, but concentrate, take notes, make sure you learn. Let's get into that learning. Very simply put, if you take a look at any matrix of all of the social media options out there, and I'm sure we've missed a bunch of them, You know, if you take a look at any of them, you're going to see there's just way too many options for people to be able to sit down and take a look at. This doesn't even include localized options like, you know, searching a local option for who's the best doctor in your area or stuff like that. There's just so many options. We've got to make it simple. Then, not only are there so many options, it starts to take up so much time. If you start looking at monitoring and managing and engaging people and then doing all of your blogs and your WordPress and all of these different aspects of it, these things can take hours and hours a week. In fact, days of the week can be taken up by doing this. And so we've got to sit down and say, how do we actually get this to make money? So we want to change our social media results, or we want to add to or fine-tune our social media results, and we want to do that now. So what have we actually got to learn? Get your pen and paper ready. Let's start taking some notes. First things first, it is still media. It's still marketing. It's not a magical thing. You can't just go and say, oh, it all just magically happens on social media differently. No. The way you write advertisements and marketing pieces and sales letters and brochures still applies to online messages as much as it does to offline messages. Media also still works better if it's in conjunction with other media. So social media can't exist without maybe TV advertising or without a website or without salespeople that take the phone calls. Social media doesn't exist on its own. It's part of a media mix for a company. You don't see big corporations stopping their TV advertising just because now they've got a Twitter feed. You know, this is a different methodology, yes, and it's a new methodology. But if you think of it this way, what we've done is we've replaced yellow pages with your websites, with Google. We've replaced a few marketing mediums that were old with new ones. It's just a different mix. Second thing in media, it costs money. There's no two ways about it. The money has to go into it. If you want results, you've got to invest the time, energy, and effort. The difference is, though, that the money you're investing is no longer about just running an ad. It's not a $20,000 advertising campaign. Now it's actually about putting wages into the staff or the people that do this, that pays for the outside companies that do this work, rather than running an ad and hoping that your advertisement in that magazine or on that radio channel will actually do the results. Next point, it doesn't replace all of these other things. You can't stop doing them. I touched on it before, but you can't stop doing referrals offline or networking offline just because you've started doing it online. It's an addition to those things. It's not a replacement of them, and that's a very important part of it. Finally, you still need operations. You still need sales. You still need finance and admin. A business doesn't exist purely online. It's got to have all of these things. You know, one of the most successful online business, Amazon, you know, how big do you think their marketing team is? How big is all of these aspects of it are very important to understand. But remember, it is one form of media, not the be-all and end-all, replace every type of media. It is one methodology. So if that's the case, then marketing rules are definitely part of your plan to develop social media. So you've got to get the right targets. You've got to build the right offers and test them and measure them. And, of course, you know, online media makes measuring so much more effective and so much easier, but you've still got to do it. You've got to pick the right mediums. You know, for some businesses, Twitter is going to be a far better response than Facebook. For others, YouTube is going to beat Yelp or going to beat Instagram. You know, there's so many different choices to make. The medium still has to be chosen over and above all of these other parts. Next, WIIFM, the old what's in it for me radio station. You know, we've still got to use that languaging. FAB, the fact, advantage, and benefit. It's not just facts. It's not just advantages. It's not just benefits. We've still got to language properly. AIDA, we've got to get their attention, keep their interest, build their desire, and get them to take action. The difference is no longer is that in just one advertisement. Usually it's over a period of multiple tweets or Facebook posts. You know, this stuff happens, but it's still a part of it. Our USP, what's unique about your business? If you're not unique in the spaces online, Look at the work you can do on YouTube. How many different ones are doing the exact same thing? You've got to do something different in these markets. Are you positioning yourself with a SWOT? Have you sat down and looked at, what are the competitors online to your business? What are the others doing on Facebook that are in your sphere, and how are you going to be different to them? What's your strengths and your weaknesses, or what opportunities are there in the market for your business? And it might not just be your business name. It might be a certain target market that has a better opportunity. That being said, whilst it's all media, it is still social. It's not just about selling stuff. It's actually social. So therefore, there is a much higher degree than normal marketing of human nature and personality, a whole much higher degree of that interactivity and the ability to actually work with human beings. And listen, it's really funny sometimes people say to me, I need a good computer person to run my social media. No, what you need is a really sociable person who understands how to socialize and communicate and interact with human nature and personality profiling and these things. It's crazy to me the number of companies that put someone who's straight down the line and quite boring in charge of their social media. No, you want someone who's actually fun, and that brings all of the emotions into it. How much do you talk about emotion, and how much emotion do your Facebook posts bring up? This is social. You wouldn't go along to a social function and just talk about dry, boring things. You would actually tell a joke. You would actually, talk about things you enjoy. You would actually talk about family and stuff. Remember, this is social, not just media. Communication is really where we're getting down to here. When it's social media, it's a communication methodology. It is just one more methodology of communication. Do the different social medias have different methodologies of communication? Absolutely they do. Twitter is definitely an entirely different communication piece to what you put in your blogs, to what you put in your LinkedIn. These are things that are important for us to understand. So whilst it's online media, it is only a segment of online. Your website is still vital, or websites. I've thought for years that every company should have multiple websites, tens, dozens, hundreds, or thousands of them if possible, when we sit down and take a look at it. But here's the thing. If your social media is generating traffic, where you're sending them to is very important. The website that they're going to is very important. Your search engine optimization is vital. How do you build your online following on Twitter? Well, a lot of it will come from your website. They'll go to your search engine, they'll optimize, they'll find you on Google, on Yahoo, on Bing, on all these different methodologies. And, of course, they'll come to your website, and your website is well handled so that it sends them also to link with you on Twitter. These things are a very big part of what does it. Your blogs, your squeeze pages, how they communicate and how they send people back and forth between the two. That level of engagement is important. Squeeze pages, by that what I mean is single-page websites where people go to take advantage of an offer, or, to get a white paper, or to get a download, or to get an audio or a video or something of an offer, just single-page websites. These are all still vital parts of it. Your email marketing is still vital. How are you going to put people onto your Facebook and Twitter unless they actually know how to find it with links from emails or websites and so on? Your online advertising, even if your advertising is on Twitter, you're advertising your Twitter feed, or if you're advertising on Facebook for outside websites, or whatever it is you're doing, that stuff is still very important and got to be part of your marketing plan. Your plan can't just evolve just around Facebook or just around Twitter. You've got to do other things that build it up. Now, what is interactive databasing? Well, let me tell you what I mean. What I think is happening is that first of all, let's first cover the importance of a database. Any business, its number one asset is its database. The list or the asset of the numbers of people that have either purchased from you or have contacted you to try and purchase from you. That database is vitally important. Remember in the early days where all it was a set of business cards that you kept in probably in a Filofax or in a Rolodex or something. Then you went more technical with Microsoft Access and so on and so on and so on, right up to now you're probably using something that's automated, or a Salesforce.com that's in the cloud, or, these things. Here's the next evolution of databasing. Social media. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These people are now your database. These people are now sitting there ready to be communicated to. Your old database was very much a one-way traffic scenario. You would send them a piece of mail. You would send them an email. You would send them brochures. You would call them up. This is now a multi-dimensional database where you're interacting with your customers, past customers, good customers, bad customers, people that hate you, people that love you, suppliers. The whole medium is out there interacting with your database of customers, and you've got to manage that and manage it very well. First thing you do, though, if you've got a database, you've got to know how to build your database. And who do you want on there first? Of course, your existing customers. You've got to get every methodology of inviting your existing customers to join your database as possible. You've got to have links to join your database, your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, whatever it is, links to join it, links to share all of this on every page of your website, on every email that's sent. All letterhead and business cards and everything must have all of this information available for people to be able to join your database and get interactive with you. When people go to your website, how many different ways can they find you? How many different ways can they join you? Is it easy for them to share the articles or the videos or the audios on your website and share them on Twitter and on Facebook? Does it carry your connection? Like, is your at field? We'll get to that in a second. Number two, physically ask. I was working with a restaurant recently, and I sat down with them and I said, well, how are you going to ask every single customer to be on your database? And they said, well, not sure. So we actually invented an app on their iPad. They would give the iPad to every customer, and every customer would literally type in their name and their address, their name, their email address, their cell phone number, and they'd immediately get a text and an email saying, hey, join us here on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. This was the methodologies. You've actually got to be willing to ask people to join your Facebook if you want them to get on there. If you're not asking them, don't expect them to come join you. Shares and retweets. If you want a built database, and we'll get to how to get shares and how to get retweets in a minute, but if you want the database, most of it comes from people sharing your information, from people actually telling the world about you by passing on your information, by sharing a picture you put up, by retweeting a post that you put out there or a link that you put up. And it includes, in that case, it should include your name and your hashtags and all of that stuff. Number four, referrals and alliances. If you're building referrals and alliances offline, you should be using them to help you online as well. All of the people that would usually refer you, how do they refer you online? Have you given them methodologies to refer you online? Have you made it easy for them to share your information, to share what you're doing? These are some of the things. Have you even asked them to do it? It's as simple as that. When was the last time you asked your Twitter feed to actually go and promote you, or your Facebook fans to go and actually tell people about you? And point number 5 on this one, a paid database. Of course, you can run ads on Facebook and on Twitter and start getting people to like you. Of course, you can pay extra on LinkedIn and start promoting yourself to other people in there. All of these things are possible, but it should be a last choice once you've done all of the other things and got stuff working for you. Now, I have 4 main rules. So if you haven't taken any notes so far, start taking them now. 4 main rules of what I believe social media should look like and how you should have it happening so that it really performs well within your business. We'll go over them quickly, and then I'll go in detail on each one. Be social. Of course, you've got to be friendly and social and interact with people and talk about fun things. Next, add value. You've got to be able to add value to me. If you just keep trying to sell me stuff, I'm going to leave. Point 3, you've got to interact. What's the use of me putting a message on your Facebook page if you don't reply to me, or if you don't at least like the fact that I put that on there? Simple stuff. Number 4, sell softly. Yes, you've got to sell. People tell you, oh, no, you just build a good connection with people. No, what's the use of building a good connection if you don't actually make offers and make sales across your online social media? That'd be like sending a salesperson out. They've met someone, they've gone and met with them 2 or 3 times, and then they don't even make an offer to sell them something. It doesn't work that way. It's still media, and we've still got to get it. So let's go in a little bit more in depth on each of these. Number 1, be social. The whole aim here is to build a relationship. People buy from people they like. They know, like, and trust. Use those 3 words, know, like, and trust. So you're building a relationship with your social media. You're getting people to know you, to like you, and to trust you. That's what you're aiming to do. How do you build relationships? You communicate. You make sure people understand. You tell them about private things, personal things, and that's where the second part of Be Social is. Private stuff really works. If you're having a birthday in your office, take a photo of the cake with everyone and post it up there. If you're doing, these are some of the things. They're not really private stuff, of course, but enough private stuff that people can actually get to know the people in your company and get to know the people behind the business. Stop just hiding behind business things and make sure there's private things in there and personal stuff as well. Not over the top, of course, but make sure it's part of your strategy. Next thing about being social. Customers are social. You need photos of your customers using your product. You need congratulations. If your customer wins an award, you need it up on there. If your customer's just made a purchase, take a photo of them and put it on there. These are some of the things that help build relationships where people see you have other customers. When your customers have success, you want to let the world know about that. Be social. Point 4, hobbies work. I sit there and I just this morning, in fact, I was looking at one of our coaches, a business coach for Action Coach in Australia. He's a mad keen motorcyclist. And there you are, he's putting up things about his latest trip and his motorbike and the one he's using and some of the friends. And you got all of his clients and stuff that are chatting to him about motorbikes as well. And, by doing that, you introduce a whole new group into your sphere of what you're doing. Don't be afraid to use hobbies to start of your social thing. People will chat to you about it and start talking to you about it. Next one, add value. The biggest thing I can say here is that adding value to the person reading it. So when they read the material you've just posted, or they see the picture, or they watch the video, they feel like, hey, that was worthwhile. Hey, that was valuable. That's really what it is. And the first point here is about educating people. You've got to make sure they get knowledge about your industry, about your business, about how you do things, why you do things. That's a very important part of it. That brings me to the second one. Help them decide on how to make a purchase. Help them make the decision by giving them information. I was working with an accountant the other week, and he said, well, what should I do? I said, well, why don't you put up the 7 questions you should ask every single accountant before you hire an accountant. Simple things like that where you sit down and actually help people make a decision on how to buy is very important. Third reason we add value is that when people perceive you to be an expert, of course they trust you more. When people perceive you to know what you're doing, then all of a sudden they're willing to trust you and take your decisions far better. So later when you make a recommendation about something, they believe it's a recommendation from someone that's an expert in the field. Point 4 is very important as well. When you're doing this adding value, it doesn't just have to be your articles. It doesn't just have to be your videos. You can take experts from the industry or the field or outside sources, reviews, and so on. Use all of the online information available to you, magazine articles, newspaper clippings, videos from news stations. Whatever it is, use that to add value to your target audience. Things that you think would value, your target audience would value, should be going up there no matter who they're from, unless maybe they're from a direct competitor. Point 3, or rule number 3, interact. Reply. What's the use of getting people all excited about what you're doing if you don't actually reply to them? What's the use of them getting them to reply to your thing on LinkedIn if you don't actually write back to them or call them back or send them a message? And that's my second one. Direct messages are very powerful. If you want someone to buy from you, don't just get them to reply to you. Actually, then once they've replied, know that, hey, this person's interested in what I'm talking about or what I'm showing them. Maybe I should send them a note that says, hey, what about this or this? How else is it? Or pick up the telephone, especially LinkedIn people. On LinkedIn, picking up the phone is a very big part of LinkedIn's strategy. And too many people just build a network on there and then hope that someone will eventually call them. If you pick up the phone first, you can do that. You can make sales to people because they're like, oh, who is this person? Let's have a chat. Oh, yeah, we are LinkedIn connected. Why don't I find out a bit about you? Those sorts of things. Ask them for a coffee, 15 minutes, find out about them, they find out about you. Point 4, refer me. Don't just interact. Say, oh, if you like that, you might also like this. If you like that, you might also want to read this article or see that or chat with this person. Be the connector within people. Just remember that that's just as important as selling your own wares. Becoming an expert, being known, liked, and trust is a very big part of your success when you go into social media. So, last one, selling softly. Remember, no more than a quarter of your posts should be selling. No less than 1/8 though. 1 in every 8 posts should be selling something. But do it softly. We're still going to come on to that point there. But never more than one out of 4. If you're doing 3 posts out of 4 of selling stuff, you're not building relationship. You're not doing that. Social only offers work really well. So if it's Facebook people, it's something that only your Facebook people get. It's because they're on Facebook type thing. That way they feel special rather than overly sold to. Number 3, if you can take a picture of something. I was working with some gentlemen the other day. They own a good bar. I said, well, how do you promote your drink of the day? They said, we don't. I said, well, okay, let's start taking photos of it and putting it on your Facebook and your Instagram, and let's start seeing what happens with those pictures when people start getting it. And again, it's a very simple methodology of selling something. I know some clients of ours at Action Coach, they're a car dealer, and their Instagram is always all of the new cars they've got in. People are chatting about it. Pictures work really well to sell softly. Point 4, link me to something of value that then also has an advertisement on it. So it might be a video that I go and learn a bunch of things that also then has a sales pitch at the end. Or it might be a questionnaire that's going to lead me towards buying something. Link me to something of value that also sells on the second page, not on the Facebook page. So let's take a look at Facebook in and of itself. We're going to cover off the major ones here. We don't have time, obviously, to do the hundreds and hundreds of different social media. But before I do that, let me just ask you, I want to get you involved. Where is your biggest social media challenge? Because I want to answer some questions at the end of this, and I want to know where your biggest challenge is. All you need to do is click the button here and tell me, what is it that you're looking to achieve with your social media? Is it making money? Is it developing a plan? What are the areas where you're needing the most help to develop your social media? If you can make sure you do that, I only keep these polls open for 30 to 45 seconds, and I need everyone to vote immediately, so that way we've actually got all of the polls in, so I can tailor this whole thing, the rest of it, to what you're doing. Great. So I'll come back to that in a second. The last, it said 28% of you still to vote. If you can still vote, well, I'll come back to that in just a moment. There'll be 3 or 4 more polls throughout the rest of this session. By the way, I did mention questions. If you do have any questions, go to the question box, type them in. One of my team will either answer it as we're going through, or I'll get to answer it live at the end of our session today. I'll try and get through at least 4 or 5 questions that are the main ones that everyone's focusing in on. So just closing that poll off, just to give you a view as to where we're at. Most of you are looking at making money with social media, developing a plan, building a following. Also, a few of you looking at good things to post. Excellent. So, Facebook. Let's understand this. Facebook is the giant, and the reality, the way I describe it, if you were to try and describe it as to old social media or old media strategies, Facebook's like a long TV advertisement. It's a big TV ad. Let me actually also just launch another quick poll, see what it is you're using mostly right now. If I can just get all of you to vote immediately, that'd be great. Why is Facebook the best? Well, it's the biggest and the best at creating relationships. And it's not the best for every type of business, but it's generally the most applicable to every type of business. I find too many business owners that sort of sit there with Facebook. They have their own Facebook profile, but they're not building decent pages. We'll get to that in just a moment as to what we should be looking for. But this is where I see the biggest, involvement. And if I just close that poll out, amazingly enough, take a look. You guys are 85% using Facebook, 30% on LinkedIn. Well, that's nowhere near enough on LinkedIn. Instagram's too low, and Twitter, way low on Twitter. So we've got to focus a little bit on there. When I take a look at Facebook and I start actually saying to people, okay, how are you doing this? What are you actually doing to get results on Facebook? Let's go on with a couple of things. Firstly and foremost, if you have not completed your profile, why would someone come and join and watch your page? You've got to make sure you give them as much information on your page's profile information as you possibly can. The more information they have, obviously, the easier it is for them to make a decision to follow you or like you. Sorry if I get all the words mixed up here, gang. We're trying to cover all of these platforms, and I'm going down follow and like, and they've all got different words, but we'll get there in the end. So get your profile as complete as you possibly can, with everything from testimonials right through. The more that's in your profile, the better ultimately the results are. Next one, don't just think of it as a single page. You can have multiple pages and multiple groups. I like pages when you know you want it as open as possible. I like groups when I'm trying to keep a group of maybe customers together. For example, for me at Action Coach, we have groups that are just our franchisees, groups that are just customers of one particular workshop. Like we run our business excellence forums 2 days every year all around the world. And if you want to come to those, please find out about it from the person that sent you or recommended you to come here. But, you know, putting those things on, we want those people to stay interacting, so we put a group together in Facebook for them to communicate. Pages are obviously more designed to promote things where people can follow. But here's the thing about it. If someone comes to my page, Bradley Sugars, you know, people find it funny to follow another person or to hit like for another person. But amazingly enough, if I have a page called Billionaire in Training, or we use it as actually a group for people that have done that workshop, it's amazing how much easier it is for people to join a group that's named not after a corporate entity and not after a person per se. So there's some interesting sides to it. Now, how many pages do you want to have? Well, as many as you need and as many as you can manage. Obviously, I would highly prefer you got real results with one before you started building 10, 20, and 30 of them. But if you've got different target audiences, different profiles in your target audiences, of course you can have multiple pages and multiple groups to get them interacting. That's a big part of getting real success on Facebook, not just one. Let's take a look at what actually works. Comments, your posts are very, very powerful. So Facebook puts them up very high in their rankings, and they'll use comments a lot. If you look at the number of people that see a comment, a lot of them will be able to see the comment. The problem with comments is you don't get many shares with comments. You'll get a lot of people that'll like it, maybe comment back, but you won't get a lot of shares on that. Pictures or pics is where you get a lot of shares. Videos is where you get a lot of shares. So you'll still get the level of interactivity. You'll still get all of that stuff. Pictures aren't quite as high up on Facebook's algorithm of putting it on people's on their walls, but they're still very high up there. But you'll get so many more shares that it will bring a lot of new people to your page. So good photos, good videos definitely works. Events are starting to get really solid. I've noticed recently Facebook changing its algorithms that events are starting to get higher rankings, especially since now people, when they do say they're attending your event, it does actually put it on their page that Fred Smith is attending your event, and it helps other people see that that event is running. Links, not so much, very low on the Facebook algorithm. Shares of other people's stuff, again, very low on the Facebook algorithms. It's not going to get massive penetration into your market. I say 4 to 12 posts per day. Now, a lot of people are like, well, what am I going to post on? Well, you can use quotes. You can use industry information. You can have articles from magazines, newspapers. You know, all of these different aspects that you can take information from that allows you to create 4 to 12 posts a day. Now, if you're writing a blog, each post on your Facebook could simply be a paragraph or a line from your blog. You know, these sorts of things are important, and it's good to have that stuff happening. I like to mix it up. Some of them are pictures, some of them are comments or posts, some of them will be a link, some of them will be a share, some of them will be an event or a video. It's very easy to mix to get there when you're mixing it up. Now let's take a look at Twitter, and too many of you are not on Twitter, and I need you to get on Twitter. And I know why you're not there, because basically Twitter is only for people with ADHD. You know, it's really for people who have a short attention span, but it really works for a lot of different businesses for several reasons. If you think that Facebook is the big TV ad, well, Twitter's more like a radio advertisement. It's capturing people's attention for 5 seconds. Boom, you've got them, and they can either phone the phone number or go to the link. And that's really what Twitter is all about, sending them to the link. You've got 140 characters to develop a headline. So every single thing you do on Twitter has to be thought of as a headline. You know, like newspaper headlines, magazine headlines. If you haven't learned how to do headlines, read my book, Instant Advertising. There's a whole 2 chapters on how to write great headlines. But understanding headlines is a very important aspect of getting great Twitter results. The reason most people don't get interactivity on Twitter is that, you know, they just put something pretty boring up there. You should read this article. Why should I read this article? Here's the seven most profitable ways you can grow your business in this article now. You know, you've got to actually treat it like a headline, the same as you do on Facebook, the same as you do everywhere else. But Twitter, it's of vital importance. Statements work really well. Links work really well on Twitter. My goal on Twitter is for every second or third one to be a link that sends them somewhere, sends them to a website, sends them through to something. Those links work really well because if I can get someone to click on it, usually I can also get them to share it. You know, we want them linked out to other things. Pictures, not so much on Twitter. Pictures, if you're doing that, that's more Facebook and Instagram. Twitter pics, they do work, but nowhere near as well. They show up as a link. And again, if you're going to put a picture up, you better put a dang good headline on that picture if you want people to click through and take a look at it, okay? Headline, headline, headline. Follow, favorite, and comment. This is very important on Twitter. You've got to make sure that you're interacting far more so than on Facebook. On Twitter, you've got to favorite other people's things so that you're seen out there. You've got to make comments on other people's things so that you are seen out there. You've got to favorite, you've got to follow. All of these are part of getting success in Twitter. If you're not interacting with others, don't expect interaction back with you. If you're not getting some follows, if you're not looking for material, if you're not out there, don't expect it to come back your way. Tweet shares with an @ symbol. I'll give you an example of this. If you go to entrepreneur.com, I write articles for Entrepreneur Magazine, and all of my articles, when they put them up there, they have a big Twitter button to share it, but as soon as it's shared with the headline of the article, then the link, and then it says @ActionCOACH CEO, which is my Twitter handle. So if you're at ActionCOACH CEO, is on there, it gets me more followers, more material. My name is mentioned on there, which helps me in all social media rankings and in all results. Hashtags. Twitter, 1 to 3 hashtags, no more than 3. This isn't Instagram where you can have 40 or 50 hashtags. This is Twitter, 2, 3 hashtags at the most. Make sure they're important. Do your hashtag research. Go online and research best hashtags for Twitter, best hashtags related to this. Look up Google searches if you do your Google algorithms, or if you do your Google, anything that's being searched in your industry on Google, use them as hashtags as well to help it. Twitter, you can go crazy on 12 to 24 of these a day is not too many. I see people all the time saying, oh, that's too many, blah, 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 blah. Look at, some of the best people most followed on Twitter are tweeting every 30 minutes, every 40 minutes. They're not tweeting once or twice a day. This is a lot of stuff, and you can put stuff up all the time and keep that growing and keep it moving. Again, how do you find this stuff? You're looking, you're out there, you're just thinking. Again, if you want to do all this stuff, by the way, don't think you've got to be on Twitter 12 to 24 times a day. Get on there at the start of the day, use TweetDeck or Hootsuite, or put it through from, whatever methodology of aggregating. If you don't know what they are, great, jump on and learn how to use TweetDeck or use Hootsuite. They're the ones we find the best at managing these things. LinkedIn is the next one I want to go into a little bit of detail around. Why? Well, Facebook TV ad, radio ad. LinkedIn's like talkback radio. It's more professional. It's got to be done properly. It's got to be done right. But if we do it right, we get great results from it. How do you get great results from LinkedIn? Number one, it's important on Facebook to have a full profile. It is of massive importance on LinkedIn to spend at least several hours getting your profile full of everything you can possibly have on there. Links to videos, links to white papers. If you've published it, it better be on there. Get recommendations from past workmates, past employers. Make sure they're on there. Get endorsements from as many of your customers, friends, LinkedIn connections as you possibly can. That is of vital importance. The more your LinkedIn profile is up to date, and you should be updating at least every month. I prefer you to update it more often than that, but at least every month, add something to your LinkedIn profile. It puts you up in front of people. Here, you don't want to post too often, but you want to interact a lot more. 1 to 3 posts a day is plenty. Links to other articles or comments that you've made, a job posting that you're offering, anything that good offers, that sort of stuff, very important. But you want to interact a lot more. How do you do that? Well, let's make a decision first. I've found that in LinkedIn, you've got to decide, are you going to go intimate and just have a few people on there that you actually know, or you're going to go big? And here's how usually you make the decision. If you're going to just build a career, if you're using LinkedIn for a career, stay intimate. If you don't actually know them, don't link in with them. If they send you a LinkedIn request, write them a note back saying, hey, I don't normally link in with people unless I actually know them. Why don't we have a 15-minute meeting and then we'll work out if we can work together. If you're going to go big, it's because you're running your own business and you want a lot of promotion, so go big and do that sort of stuff. Then, to know where to interact, definitely choose big or intimate. Then you want to either build or join groups, okay? If it's a career, probably join. If it's a business, build some groups that are clear on what you're doing. You know, if you're a car enthusiast, you build groups. Or if you're a car sales guy, build car enthusiast groups. If you're like for me, a business coach, we build entrepreneurs groups along there for different areas around the world. Join groups if you're building a career and make sure you are interactive in those groups. Post to them, write to them. When you put a blog up, make sure it's in there. Make sure you put a connection and a link to it. This last point is a major one for me on LinkedIn. Actually make the phone call to people. Pick up a phone and call them and say, hey, we're connected on LinkedIn. We haven't ever met, or we're connected on LinkedIn. We've only met once, but I think we should maybe get together and have coffee and have a chat about what your business does, what mine does, and see if we can help each other. You know, interaction is a major point. Let me just put up a quick another poll here to see where your interaction levels are at. How much do you interact with them? Do you do it a lot, a little? Are you just starting to do it? Where are you at with your level of interaction with people? So interaction is vital in LinkedIn, absolutely. And I know, gang, I'm rushing. I've only got an hour today with you, and I could spend hours on each one of these, let alone just an hour to cover off all of them. But let's do the best we possibly can. I've still got about 40% of you to vote, so if you can just click those last votes in, that'll be great. So I want to move from LinkedIn through to YouTube. Now, YouTube is informational world. You know, YouTube is mainly the thing that we're looking at, but this is where we're going to get a lot more information out to people. You guys are doing pretty good with your levels of interactivity. Pretty good. Still could be more, but pretty good is okay. So let's take a look at YouTube just for a second. If it's the 8-minute infomercial, and yes, you can have YouTube Professional and go longer than that, but just imagine we're sticking with the 8-minute infomercial side of things. You know, with YouTube, I sit down and say, how many channels do you want to have? In other words, how many different target audiences do you want to have channels for? Is there, you know, have you got a clothing store that has people that are wanting to buy, you know, young and fancy stuff versus older? You know, what's your strategy? What are the target audiences you want to help you determine your channels? Obviously, then that helps you with Google. The more channels you've got, the more different ways, the more that you can actually get there. Remember, Google is a fanatic of YouTube, and very simply put, they're looking to post videos. When people search, they'll get pictures off of your website, obviously, any pictures that are tagged properly when people do searches, and you can't stress that enough for your website or your blogs to tag your pictures properly. But your videos need to be tagged properly too. That's a big part of it. The title needs to be very important. Google search algorithm will help you find it. YouTube search algorithms will help people find you by a great title. You can make a long title. Don't just go with a short title. Put a long one in there and make it almost 2 titles in one so people can get to you in many different ways. You've got to get likes and conversations happening on your video. Again, if someone replies to you on YouTube and says something about your video, write back to them. Get a conversation started. Get multiple conversations happening. It helps with everything you do. The number of likes, obviously, in the conversation helps with YouTube and Google finding your video. If your video's had a lot of views and a lot of likes and conversations, of course YouTube and Google are going to rank it higher up its list. Make sure that's a part of it. So what do you want videos of? Now, you want these in your blog and your website as well, but definitely on your YouTube channel so you can Facebook them and tweet them and all that sort of stuff. It goes without saying that you want to interview your customers and have them tell the world how good you are. But how to use your product is a very important one. How to use your services, how to buy what you sell is very important. Reviews, interviews, all of this stuff can be a very big part of making sure your results are there when you're doing great things on YouTube. Think of it this way too. You don't need a great camera. You don't need an editing suite. All you need is your iPhone. If you've got your iPhone running and you sit down there and you just use some very basic software, Apple has very basic software that's easy to use, but, you can use whichever way you want. But the thing that I'm saying to you is it doesn't have to be super schmick. It doesn't have to be the best in the world. It can just be an iPhone on the iMovie, and hey, presto, you're off and racing. In fact, in some places, it's better that you do it that way. In some places, it's better. Let me just check out how you guys are doing with your posting rate. Where are you posting, or how often are you posting online? Be as honest as you can for me, because I want to make sure I'm working with people when I get to the questions. Finally, I want to touch on Instagram too, gang. Instagram is a very big one. For me, this is for people with attention deficit disorder that can't read. It's Twitter with pictures, basically, but it is fast growing. We've seen Pinterest and we've seen Foursquare, and we've got all these different ones that are out there. There's so many of them, we could spend hours and hours just listing the dang things. I'm just going to touch on Instagram because I think it's worth spending a few moments on. Most of you, nowhere near enough posting, nowhere near enough. Gee, gang, when I'm telling you these numbers, some of you are going to be panicked about where to find material for this stuff. Remember I said at the beginning of today, this is something where you're going to have to, it's a job. This is something where time, energy, and effort has to be put into it. Yes, you've got to find the material to post that's going to add value, be sociable, and get people wanting to buy from you. Instagram, whatever you're doing in your tweets, try and make it visual or a video, a very short video of it. You can have multiple Instagrams for multiple different target audiences. Again, people find it easier to follow something that says motivation, business motivation, than they will Fred Smith. Hashtags are the ultimate on Instagram. I always put a couple on the first time, then go back and put more on later on, just to give it another boost in that. You've got to be interactive on Instagram if you want people to interact with you. Liking, commenting, and following is a very big part of it. 3 to 4 posts a day is the sort of minimum maximum that I'd be looking at for a business one. If you're not posting enough, people will lose interactivity with you. If you're not liking other people's, people can't see what you've liked, and therefore you're not showing up on that list. You've got to be interacting. You've got to be doing that stuff. 3 to 4 a day is probably the thing. So let's do a quick summary of today's learning, and then we'll talk about how to put it into practice, and then we'll talk about your questions for today. If you've got questions, by the way, and you haven't typed them in, please type them in right now. I'll be going to those in just a moment. First thing about today's learning, it is still marketing. It is still media. You've got to build a marketing plan and a media plan for using all of these different aspects. Don't think you can just do it haphazard and it'll work. You've actually got to design a plan for it. 4 rules to our social success. I've covered them off. Be social, add value, interact, and sell softly. Very important, all 4 of those. Next one, different mediums. Facebook is different to Pinterest, is different to Instagram, and so on. Each one has a different methodology, different benefits, and different ways of succeeding. Build your databases. Can't stress that one enough. You got to learn this stuff first and earn second. So once you learn it, maybe today is just the starting point for you learning how to build your social media. Maybe you need to work with one of my coaches. Maybe you need to join my Profit Masters program. I'm not sure what it is, but what I do know is that every one of us has to learn this stuff because it's only going to get bigger. That's right, I said it. It's only going to get bigger. We're not going to have less and less of this stuff. It's not going to disappear. So can you do this? I put this picture of the young Nick Vujicic and Bethany Hamilton. She's my daughter's favorite. Nick's a great young man, and we've had him speak at a bunch of conferences because he's just so, they've got every reason in the world to say, no, I'm not going to do it. You've got every reason to say, no, this isn't going to work for me. But it will work for you if you do the work, okay? That's what it is. So what's it going to take for you to get this implemented? Let's discuss that first. Then I'll jump to your questions, and then I know Eve's got a few gifts for you at the end of the day today. So make sure you get that link from her at the end of the session. First things first, it's not just one area I want you to implement. It's all the areas of your business. I created a Profit Masters program as an online learning program so you can be at your desk just like you are now, learning as much as you want about how to grow a business, learning about sales, marketing. In the next 10 days, I'm going to teach you all these different areas about your business. We're going to learn how to be wealthy. We're going to learn how to buy, build, and sell companies, marketing, sales. We're going to learn about success in life. All these different aspects for the next 10 days that I want you to learn. Now, are you going to need to invest in this? Well, when I first started doing this, I said to people, I'm going to charge people tens of thousands for this because that's what it would cost to get it live. But then I worked out, hey, I don't have to stay in hotels and travel the world. I can do this for people at a much easier rate. Then I said to my team, why don't I do it for free? And well, very simply put, my team said to me, well, boss, if people get it for free, they're not going to use it. Make them at least take a step. And I'll make you take a step, but the step is fully 100%. In fact, it's a 200% guarantee. Give me a moment, and then I'll get to your questions. The 200% guarantee is this. If you come and attend all the 10 webinars, actually it's 11. I added an 11th one this week called Leverage. Jump on and do all 11 of those over the next 11 days. They're recorded, so if you miss one, you can get onto it. Exact same time as today, you can be on the webinar with me tomorrow learning more and more about how to grow your business or start a business or get into business for yourself, more and more about your media and marketing stuff. So here's the thing. My guarantee is this. If you attend all of the webinars, in fact, one of the guys said to me the other day, so if I put it on my credit card and I don't like it in 11 days, you'll give me a refund and I won't even have had to pay a cent out of my own pocket. Absolutely. That's how confident I am you will love this program. You have zero risk for the next 11 days. All you got to do is come and participate, learn all the material. If you don't believe it's worth way more than the $990, I'll give you your money back. On top of that, I'm going to give you free $27,000 worth of material. Now, what does it mean? Well, when you came to my seminars and actually purchased this material, it's $27,000 worth of material. All of these videos of my workshops, my entrepreneurs training, my every workshop I've ever presented is videotaped and online for you to watch. There is so much of this stuff. You can use it to train your employees. Yes, all of your employees can come on for the $990, or it's $99 a month if you want to do it that way forever, or it's $990 for one-time payment. You're a lifetime member of the whole program. All of this stuff is yours. It's free. It's there. It's part of this whole program. You've got zero risk, no risk at all. In fact, I'll give you your money back before your credit card company even sends you the bill if you don't love everything that's on there. And you get to keep all the knowledge. It's yours. It's free. That's how confident I am you'll love what we're doing. Audio programs, if you love listening to stuff, there's so many training programs that I've done where you can sit and listen to them all and learn all of that stuff over the years that's made me wealthy and many, many of my clients super wealthy as well. This is the stuff you have to learn. In the next 7 minutes, if you join, I'm also going to give you our ebooks. There's all of this free stuff. You've got 7 more minutes to make the decision to join us to get all of this free stuff. All of these ebooks, white papers galore, everything on how to build referrals and host beneficiaries. If you don't know what that is, please jump on the link now that Eve sent you, bradsugarsprofitmasters.com, and jump on there. It's in your comments section or your chat section on the box there. It'll be in your email inbox as well. Follow it through. All these other downloads, these tools that we use with our one-to-one coaching clients, I can't put a value on those. Our one-to-one coaching clients pay us at minimum $24,000 a year. So, it's up to you what you want. All of my mentors, I've interviewed them, and now you can listen to them too. If you join us, now there's only 6 minutes to go, bradsugarsprofitmasters.com, all 10 webinars, the 11th one that I've added in there, all of the material, 25 grand's worth of material, it's yours. We start tomorrow. I'm also going to give you one of my coaches for 1 full hour. One of my action coaches, that's $375 for the hour that you would pay. I'm going to give you them for 1 hour for free. Here's what you get. It's all listed there. Click on the link. Now I'm going to get to your questions. I know I've only got a few minutes to answer all the questions, but this is what I know we need to get to. So let me take a look at the first questions up on here, or the most, Eve's gone and marked some of the most possible ones. I'm not on Facebook yet, but I want to get started. What's the best thing? Listen, sign up for it. Watch Facebook's videos on how to do your marketing on Facebook. Watch Twitter's videos on how to do that. They're all out there, and it'll definitely get you started. Who should be, okay, the question is basically who in my company should be on social media? Everybody. Yeah, I know people say, oh, I don't want my staff using social media. Yes, you do. You want your staff on there, but you've got to have rules and criteria for how they actually do it so they're promoting your business while they're doing it. Do they check in at work every single day? Do they make sure, so on and so on and so on? Are they helping you promote your business by doing all of that sort of stuff? I believe most people in the company should be on social media. Of course, you want policies and procedures to do that. This is the thing. That's a nice question. How do I get so much info in so little time? I talk real fast. Facebook's advertising. Look, I haven't had time to go into it today. Facebook advertising is very worthwhile. It's very similar to Google AdWords, only it's cheaper at this point in time, very well targeted. They have an amazing education program in Facebook where you can watch videos and webinars and learn exactly how you do it. It's very powerful to do that. B2B, absolutely. I believe social media is just as, if not more important in B2B than it is in B2C. Why? Because you've got to be that perceived expert. You've got to build the expert status, and that's a very big part of getting success. Remember, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. If you can get them on your Facebook and on your Twitter so they get to see you, hear from you, and feel like they're communicating. How many times have you ever had someone say to you, I feel like I know you from Facebook even though I've never met you? That's the exact thing that you want to have happen. But you've got to take it that next step. There's no use getting them to communicate with you and you then not connecting back with them. You've got to connect back with them. That's a very big part of it. By the way, gang, you've just sent me a note. Remind people there's only 3.5 minutes to go. I know I'm answering your questions here, but there's 3.5 minutes to go to make your decision to join Profit Masters. Get on there now. Zero risk to you, 200% guarantee. You get to keep everything and you get your money back if you don't love it. Okay, next one here. Twitter. Yeah, look, basically the question is, I've tried Twitter before, I'm not seeing results from it. Should I go back to it? Look, the reality is if you weren't writing great headlines, and this is one important thing, until you get to basically 1,000 Facebook likes or followers on Twitter or Instagram followers, it's going to be very hard to monetize until you get to use about 1,000 people. Make sure that you use that and get to understand that's where you've got to build it to. That database building stuff is very important when you first start out. Getting people to like you, getting people to follow you, those things are of very big importance to do it. If someone posts, can you have an employee doing all of the posting? Absolutely. Most companies today have full-time social media people, and you're going to pay them a salary, and they've obviously got to get leads generated to cover off their salary. They've got to be bringing in new business to cover off their salary. Should you get those people to do it so the employee and not yourself? Now, look, 90% of the time, the employee should be, if they've learned your strategy, they should be posting as if they are you or as if they are the CEO. Most CEOs have other people doing it. I know for me on my Facebook, which is facebook.com/Brad Lee Sugars, I know I'm on there myself every single day. But I don't get on my Twitter every single day. I'll get on there maybe every other day. I'll get on my LinkedIn maybe once a week. But my team handles that for me. They communicate with people. And people know it's me or not me, or they know it's someone representing me. My team, when they reply to letters, will generally say, hey, it's one of Brad's teams here. He's off on a seminar at the moment, and he won't be able to get back to you, but let me answer the question for you. So make sure you're doing all of that stuff. Be powerful, be proactive, get focused on it. But remember, it's still just part of the media mix. You've got to learn all of the other aspects for it. Get on myprofitmasters.com. Get on there, bradsugarsprofitmasters.com. Do a / of webinar offer to make sure you get the best offer that we've got for you here today. Join up. I'll speak to you for the next 11 days. I've got more time for questions on those days. So, the next 11 business days, of course. Let's get together. Let's work together. Let's build your business. Hopefully, you'll get some great results from it. Hopefully, you've got great value out of it today. Make sure you hit me up on Facebook and Twitter. Follow me on Instagram, Brad Lee Sugars. I'm out there. I'd love to meet with you on LinkedIn as well. Love to chat. Please enjoy, get to know it. Eve, over to you to let people know where they can get their other free bonuses from us for today. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you so much, Brad, for these great strategies in social media. This is Eve Fabros, and I want to thank you again for attending today's webinar. We do hope you learned some brand new strategies from Brad that you can start implementing in your business today. Please look for your 4 free gifts that will be coming from Brad in an email from us within the next 24 to 48 hours. And the access to your free gifts is actually a Profit Masters login, so you can access those free gifts. It gives you a nice synopsis of some content that we've made available to you in that access. And we will also include the replay of the webinar. But also, remember to take advantage of Brad's special webinar offer using the link that I've posted into your chat box. This link, bradsugarsprofitmasters.com /webinar offer, is a clickable link in your chat window. So please do click on that to get your 11 entrepreneurial webinar series purchased today so that you can be attending with Brad again for the next 11 business days. And know that your purchase is 100% guaranteed. We know that you will find the webinar series to be an invaluable investment to you and your business. And if you're not completely satisfied, just request a refund within 48 hours of the very last 11th webinar in the series. Again, you have nothing to lose, but every knowledge and business strategy from Brad to gain. We will be staying on the line for just a few minutes, so please feel free to ask any last-minute questions into the chat box at the bottom of your control panel. Again, you will get a replay of this webinar within the next 24 hours. We will email everyone an exit survey also, so we would appreciate you filling that out so we can continue to improve on our webinars. Thank you all again for your attendance, and make it a great day.